عشان عندهم الكمبيوتر المشبوك بالمونيتورز. طيب let me know when we are ready. في عندنا ريموت كنترول. اوكي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين، صلاة دائمة إلى يوم الدين. Welcome our dear brothers and respected sisters. In this great occasion tonight, we have our guest speaker, Dr. Ma'an Alqudah, and our brother Khalil Khair, also from Guidance College. Tonight, we will address one of the most important issues and subjects in our life in the United States, the Islamic finance. A lot of questions that the imams receive, the fatwa is needed about financial issues in many aspects that touch many aspects of our life. And we have tonight our great imam in the United States, Dr. Ma'an Khalid Alqudah. Dr. Ma'an Alqudah, he is an imam. He has a PhD certificate in Islamic studies. His field is Islamic finance. He is the president of the Alqudah University. He is an associate professor in many universities and one of the members of the IFTA committee in AMJA, American Muslim Jurisprudence, المجمع فقهاء الشريعة بأمريكا. He wrote many books and papers in Islamic finance. Some of them are Understanding Islamic Financing, or also another book about النوازل المالية, Contemporary Financial Issues, and نوازل شراء العقارات, Contemporary Issues related to buying real estates. He has also many books in Arabic. He wrote about القروض الطلابية, student loans in the United States, فقه السياسة المالية في الإسلام, التحكيم في الشريعة الإسلامية, حكم العمل في قطاع الخدمات المالية في الولايات المتحدة. And as you see, these are some of the most important financial issues that we face in the United States. Welcome Dr. Ma'an. أهلا وسهلا بكم في مسجدكم أورلاند بارك، وأهلا وسهلا بالأخ خليل خير. نرحب بكم ونسعد بلقائكم. الميكروفون معك، فلتتفضل مشكورا.
طيب، جزاك الله خير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أمسينا وأمسى الملك لله، والحمد لله لا شريك له، لا إله إلا هو إليه النشور. أمسينا على فطرة الإسلام وكلمة الإخلاص، وعلى دين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وعلى ملة أبينا إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. اللهم إنا أمسينا منك في نعمة وعافية وستر، فأتم علينا نعمتك وعافيتك وسترك في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما أمسى بنا من نعمة أو بأحد من خلقك فمنك وحدك لا شريك لك، فلك الحمد ولك الشكر. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. رضينا بالله ربا، وبالإسلام دينا، وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا. أحبتي، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طبتم وطاب ممشاكم وتبوأتم من الجنة منزلا بإذن الله. ثم أما بعد. Our topic for tonight is Islamic Finance 101. Islamic finance is a very detailed topic. It has a lot of technical issues related to different contemporary transactions. It is not close to impossible. It is actually impossible to cover this topic within 40 minutes. What I will be presenting, inshallah, in those next 40 or 35 minutes is just, I would say, a flavor or a free sample of what we offer at Guidance College in the master's program. We do have a master's program in Islamic economics and finance. Having said that, when you hear the term Islamic finance, what comes to your mind? Some people might think that Islamic finance is a system only for Muslims. That's why we label it as Islamic finance. Well, believe it or not, you can call this system, you can call it Christian finance, a Christian finance system. You can call it a Jewish finance system if you wish, because what we believe in, Muslims, is that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited for us to get involved in, as far as the transactions are concerned, was prohibited for the previous nations. Maybe the very first thing that comes to your mind when it comes to Islamic finance is the prohibition or the banning of interest or riba. Is that correct? Well, according to our resources, riba was prohibited to be conducted or practiced for the previous nations. In the Quran itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala documented this rule when he was like criticizing one of the Jewish communities in the past. He said, وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَا وَقَدْ نُهُوا عَنْهُ وَأَخْذِهِمُ الرِّبَا وَقَدْ نُهُوا عَنْهُ. And they used to transact with interest while they were prohibited from doing so. For Christians, actually, although we do have a big question mark when it comes to the authenticity of the Bible that people refer to nowadays as the Bible, forget about the authenticity. Just open the Bible randomly and read. You will find different places, different verses where Isa alayhi salatu wasalam and the disciples actually were prohibiting and warning their community members from being involved in riba. So riba actually was prohibited in Christianity, was prohibited in Judaism, and of course it is prohibited in Islam. And that's why if you wish to call it a divine finance system, قانون تمويل إلهي, you are absolutely correct, because actually the Islamic finance system is a derivative or a part of the Islamic system, which is a divine system from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either by himself in the Quran or through the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. That is one thing. The other thing, again, Islamic finance is not only, it's not all about the prohibition of interest. No, it has different components or different criteria that has to be matched. One of them is that you cannot get involved in. You cannot finance, you cannot be a part of, you cannot support, you cannot participate, you cannot facilitate any transaction, any deal, any enterprise, any partnership, any kind of business that is harmful to the ethics and the values of the society. Okay? Islamic finance is a very ethical finance, regardless of the profitability or the feasibility of the project. If that project actually is harmful to the society itself, okay, to the ethics, to the values of the society, it has to be avoided, even if it is profitable. In Islamic finance, there is no vagueness, there is no ambiguity. Everybody knows from day one what you will be giving, what you will be getting in return, who is doing what. So there is no gharar, there is no jahala, there is no ambiguity or uncertainty. You do not know who is doing what. Those are, I would say, some of the major criteria for the Islamic finance. Let's go back to the riba issue, which is a very concerning issue for all of us, especially here in this society where the capitalist economic system actually is mandating and just imposing itself. When we say riba or interest or usury, what do you mean by riba? What do you mean by it? What kind of riba we are referring to? When you read in the Quran, for example, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا إن كنتم مؤمنين. So we all agree here that riba is prohibited, but maybe we are not on the same page when it comes to the definition of riba or the category of riba that we are referring to. Sometimes you attempt to educate yourself and read more about this topic. You just go to the classical, traditional fiqh books and you start reading. And instead of clearing this issue, you might end up being even more confused than before, because you read examples, okay, different examples who are definitely authentic, do not get me wrong, but they are very irrelevant to our society. Okay, you will read about exchanging wheat for barley or orange for apple, or wheat for rice or rice for sugar, and so on and so forth. All these examples actually are correct. Whatever they have mentioned actually is correct. But the problem here is that those are very, I would say, outdated examples. They are very irrelevant to our society. Muslims in the United States in 2023 do not exchange wheat for barley or rice for sugar. If I want to buy some rice or sugar, I just make an order like online, or using my app. I can pay cash, or using my debit card or credit card, or sometimes even using cryptocurrency, right? So all these examples are definitely correct, but they are very irrelevant to our society. very irrelevant to our society. What is relevant to our society is only one category of interest, because naturally riba has different levels and different categories. There is something called riba al-fadl and riba al-nasa and riba al-nasi'a, right? All these, confusing names, when you read them again, you will be getting like more confused. I want you to forget about all these different big names, right? Riba al-nasi'a, riba al-jahiliya, riba al-qurud, riba al-duyun, riba al-fadl. Forget about all these big names and just focus on the following definition. I want you to remember this definition. If you can, like, memorize it by heart, that will be great. So from now on, whenever I refer to the term riba, I mean the following. It is the premium that has to be paid by the borrower to the lender, along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for the extension of its maturity. Very simple. One more time. Riba means the premium or the surplus or the extra amount of money that has to be paid by the borrower to the lender, along with the principal amount, either as a condition for the loan or for the extension of its maturity. From this definition, I think we need to go to slide, if I recall, slide 16. 16, riba al-nasi'a, am I correct? Yeah, that is, mashallah. My memory is good. So that is the definition of riba that I'm referring to. You read here in this definition that there is a premium and there is a principal, and there is like a clear-cut separation between them. There is a principal and there is a premium. Now, this is from one side. From the other side, we have two different contracting parties. We have borrower and we have a lender. Borrower and lender. So the relationship between the two is not a partnership to start with. There is no investment involved here. Someone actually is lending money to somebody else. And that recipient of the money is the one who is guaranteeing the principal and guaranteeing the premium on top of it. For example, you go to Chase, Bank of America, you apply for $100,000 investment loan. They do the math for you based on your income, based on your credit score, based on different factors. And they tell you, listen, we're going to give you $100,000 for 3% APR. APR stands for annual percentage rate, which means that if you want to keep that money for one complete year, it has to be paid back 103. For 3 years, 109, and so on and so forth. The bank actually is not taking any responsibility, any liability, any risk whatsoever. You are literally by your own. You take that money, after you sign the documents, you take the money, you step out the bank, you are absolutely by your own. So in the real life, you involve that money in a project, in a business. Whether you make profit, or you break even, or you incur loss, or you run out of business, the bank actually does not care about you. By the law of the land, by the agreement between you and the bank, you have to pay the 103 within 1 year, right? That is actually what we mean by the premium that has to be paid by the borrower. You are the borrower, and Bank of America or Chase is the lender. Premium, principal amount that has to be paid by the borrower, which is you, the victim or the customer, to the lender, which is the bank, okay, as a condition for the loan. Condition for the loan means that if you are not willing to commit yourself from the beginning to pay that APR, you disqualify right away. You cannot tell the bank, I'm a practicing Muslim, I do not deal with interest. Well, good for you. You can go and find somewhere else to give you money for free. We are here to lend you money for APR. If you agree to take the agreement and to sign, here is the money. Otherwise, no money for you. So this is what I mean by as a condition for the loan. Condition for the loan. Or in some cases, or for the extension of its maturity, which is a kind of riba that's still haram, but it is less prohibited than the first one. You borrow money with no interest for a certain period of time. If you pay off the loan or the debt in full, you're good to go, no consequence. If you default, you will be charged interest. Very good example for this category is the credit cards that we all hold and use here. Okay? You might keep using your credit card for years and years without paying one single penny interest, because you know that if you avoid using your credit card for cash withdrawal from any ATM machine, if you limit yourself to paying like invoices, bills, and to like purchase items, if you pay the monthly statement in full before the due date, no consequence. You can keep your credit card for years and years without paying interest. That is the definition of riba that we want to examine, okay, and cross-check different contemporary transactions. As I said in the beginning, you come across in the traditional fiqh books riba al-fadl, riba al-nisa, riba al-nasiya, riba al-jahiliya, riba al-duyun, wheat for barley, orange for apple, and so on and so forth. In the real life, you come across different charges, different payments. Sometimes you find yourself receiving money from others, and sometimes you find yourself in a position where you can charge others certain kind of money. You come across something called late fees, right? You come across overdraft charge, right? Late fees, overdraft charge, penalty, interest, bonus, honorarium. What else? We said late fees, transaction fees, and sometimes actually interest, bonus, cash back, and so on and so forth. And in most cases, we do not know whether those charges that we charge others, right? We charge others, or we get charged by others. Are those different charges the exact riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, or they are otherwise? Now, that's actually our job. Our job actually is to unlock the secret of any contemporary transaction, to find out if it is proven that someone is advancing money, giving money to someone else, right? And that advancer, that financier, that lender, call him whatever you want, right, is not taking any risk whatsoever, no liability, no risk, okay? He advances money, and that money actually is guaranteed, and the return on the money is guaranteed as well. So the principal is guaranteed, and the return is guaranteed, both of them. That is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited, whether it is called riba or called otherwise. We do not care actually that much about the names or the terms that we use in contracts. What we care about is the essence and the reality of the deal. Is the essence and the reality of the deal. Even if you like manipulate the contract, you remove interest and you put those big like Islamic names, musharaka, mudaraba, musharaf, lease to own, declining partnership, if the nature of the essence of the deal itself indicates otherwise, that someone is giving money, and that money actually is risk-free, riskless deal. He advances money, and he's supposed to receive the money with plus, okay, with surplus, with a premium, whatever you want to call it. If that is proven, okay, with no liability, with no risk, with no partnership, with no investment here, with no producing something and taking the liability and the risk of producing something, that is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Having said that, very quick examples as a kind of exercise for us, like to think, to get out of the box, as they say, and start, thinking critically how to unlock the secrets of those transactions. You give someone, for example, $10,000 loan, right? We are now in March 2023. You tell him, listen, you pay me back the $10,000, $11,000 by the end of this year, by December 31st, 2023. You pay me back $11,000. Is there any difference between this scenario versus you taking that $10,000 and opening a saving account with Wells Fargo or with Chase? When you open a saving account, okay, I'm just giving random numbers, do not quote me there. When you open a saving account with Chase, and Chase tells you, okay, from now until the end of the year, the $10,000 will be paid back in total, right? $11,000. Is there any technical or legal difference between the first scenario versus the second scenario? There is no difference whatsoever. The principal is guaranteed when you lend your money, at least like on papers. The principal is guaranteed and the return is guaranteed. And when you open a saving account, the principal is guaranteed by the FDIC and the return is guaranteed as well. So you advance, you give $10,000, you receive it back $11,000 with no risk whatsoever. This actually means clearly that opening a saving account is not a halal option to start with. Opening a saving account is not a halal option. Why? Because it is an interest-bearing loan. That is what I mentioned now, is the Islamic or the fiqh interpretation of what happened. Someone might say, oh, hold on, you want to tell me that I'm the lender, although I have only $10,000, and Bank of America is the borrower, although they have billions of trillions of dollars? My answer is yes. We do not go with who has less and who has more. No. What we go with actually is the nature of the agreement. Nature of the agreement shows clearly that you advance your money is guaranteed, and the return on the money is guaranteed. That is the riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Overdraft charge you have in your checking account, in your debit card. Forget about your credit card. In your debit card, you have only $500 available, what do you call it, balance. Okay? You stopped by a point of sale and you purchased an item, a phone, for let's say $700. Okay, usually the transaction goes through. Although you have how much in your checking account, in your debit card? 500. You purchased an item for 700. Most probably the transaction will go through. After 1, 2, 3 weeks, okay, whenever you receive your monthly statement, you will find out that, oh, you have to pay Chase back $200 plus $35 overdraft charge. Overdraft charge. Now, what is the interpretation or the fiqh interpretation of what happened? Okay, it means from a pure fiqh perspective, it means that you borrowed $200 from the bank, because the bank did not give you the $200 as a gift. It has to be paid back. Now, you borrowed, whether you like it or not, you borrowed $200 from the bank, and you have to pay it back $200. If this is the only thing that you have to pay, then there is nothing to worry about. You borrowed 200, you paid back how much? 200. Problem here is that there is another charge on top of it, and that is the premium that I started with. Oh, there is $35 overdraft charge. Overdraft charge by default is riba, unless otherwise proven. Can you prove otherwise? Yes, you can. You can make an argument that this is an irregular transaction. There was not enough fund, so the employee or the processor has to spend more time to process the payment and to go after the client. And I mean, you can make a case. But to start with, the default rule is that $35 overdraft charge actually is the interest. Now, the opposite example. Okay, use your credit card. You use your credit card. When you hold the credit card and you use it, what does it mean to start with? It means that you have a line of credit. You have the authority of borrowing money. When you use your credit card, you are not using your own money. You are borrowing money from the credit card company or from the bank. Is that correct? So if you do have, for example, line of credit $10,000, and you start using your credit card, it means that you are borrowing money. You are borrowing money. If you purchase an item for $100 and you have to pay it back 100, then we break even. Is that correct? If you have to pay it back 105, then you are paying interest. Is that correct? What if you borrow $100 and you pay it back only $95? Because of the cashback, they give you like a bonus or cashback promotion, 5%, right? Which means that whenever you borrow $100, you will be getting back how much? $5. So 100 minus 5, that's 95. It means that you as a borrower, okay, you borrow 100 and you pay it back 95. So you pay less. So cashback actually is completely the opposite of interest, and of course it is halal. Maybe the most obvious example that people always ask about is mortgaging homes in the U.S. Again, our job, like before you jump to a conclusion and you pass a fatwa, you need to unlock the secret of the transaction. What does it mean to mortgage a house in the U.S. in a very traditional way, very conventional, traditional way? What does it mean? It means that you are involving yourself in 3 transactions simultaneously that come together. Okay? There is a sale agreement, because you want to purchase a house, buy a house from the landlord. That's a sale agreement. Of course, you do not have $500,000 cash to pay off for the house, so you go to a mortgage company or to a bank, right? And you apply for a mortgage. And upon approving your application, the bank would write a check, okay, or like, transfer $500,000 on your behalf. On your behalf to whom? To the landlord, right? Now, in order for the bank to secure its money, they put a lien on the property. They mortgage the property, and that's why they call it mortgage. So you end up having three different simultaneous transactions. There is a sale agreement, عقد بيع, and there is a loan agreement, عقد قرض, and there is a mortgage agreement. We do not have any issue with the sale agreement. وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. We do not have any issue with the mortgage agreement in a sense that if you give someone money as a loan and you do not trust him well, okay, can you ask for collateral? Can you tell him, okay, give me your watch or give me your phone until you come back with the money and I will give you the phone back? That's called rahan. That's called rahan. And according to the Quran, وَإِن كُنتُمْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ وَلَمْ تَجِدُوا كَاتِبًا فَرِهَانٌ مَقْبُوضَةٌ. الرهان actually is the mortgage. الرهان is the mortgage. So mortgaging the property because of the loan is not an issue. It's halal, right? Purchasing a house is halal. The only concern we have is what? Is what? Is the loan one, right? You borrow $500,000. You borrow $500,000 from the mortgage company, and you have to pay it back how much? 700,000, 800,000, whatever the deal might be, within the next 25, 30 years. That's the exact riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Now, some people actually get confused. They think that the mortgage company is the owner of the house. This is incorrect. The mortgage company actually is the mortgagee. You are the mortgager, and they are the mortgagee, right? The owner of the house actually is you, okay? Yeah, you are the mortgagee, and they are the mortgager, or vice versa, whatever. You are the owner of the house. You are the owner of the house, and they are the lender. They are the lender. Now we ended up having three different transactions: sale agreement, loan agreement, and mortgage agreement. Okay, two of them are halal, and one of them is haram. Okay, we cannot be like democratic and go with the majority. Okay, two halal against one haram, then the deal is halal. Unfortunately, in the Islamic finance system, it goes the other way around, right? Because one of those three different transactions is absolutely haram. This is more than enough to prohibit or to ruin the whole deal and to make it a haram one. So by default, or the default rule is that mortgaging a house in a very traditional, conventional way is not a halal option. Now you might come up with different questions. What is the alternative? Sheikh Al-Qaradawi rahmatullah alayhi said otherwise. Majlis al-Urab al-Ifta, well, I mean, we can discuss all that. But I'm here tonight within those very few minutes that I have, just to establish some very fundamental and basic rules, right? Islamic finance, back to the main topic. Islamic finance actually, based on what I have explained, is completely different from the conventional finance system. The conventional finance system goes with a model that we call it, in a very technical term, we call it a risk-shifting model. Risk-shifting model. Here is the money, you are by your own, you come back next year with the principal and with the profit, which is none but interest, right? Which is a haram interest. The Islamic finance system doesn't go with the risk-shifting model, it goes with the risk-sharing model. Risk-sharing model in a sense that if you just imagine that we do have Islamic finance, system 100% implemented, right? With no manipulation, with no cheating, nothing. It's transparent, authentic, sound, genuine Islamic finance system. If you go to the Islamic mortgage company to borrow money, okay, and pay it back with extra, they would say, no, you are in the wrong place. We are not here to lend you money. You want to purchase a house? Let's sit down together and discuss business. We can go with you with what's called a declining partnership or diminishing partnership. Or maybe you can go with a murabaha. Murabaha means spot sale, okay, and then credit sale. They purchase the house for $500,000 and they sell it back to you for 600, 700, more or less, whatever you agree on. Lease to own. They purchase the house. They own the house. They become the landlord. They take the responsibility of the maintenance and the tax and the insurance throughout the whole agreement long, 20, 50 years, whatever, in order for them to justify or to permit the money that they're taking from you. The most ideal one actually is the diminishing partner, is the diminishing or the declining partnership. Let me give you a quick example or a comparison between two different brothers. One of them financed traditionally, okay, and the other one financed with an Islamic mortgage company. Islamic mortgage company, genuine sound practice, right? Which is something unfortunately does not exist nowadays. I mean, to be transparent with you all. Let's say that Muhammad and Abdullah. Muhammad applied for Bank of America for $500,000 mortgage, and he was approved. Based on the math that they did, Muhammad has to pay the amount $700,000 within the next 30 years. Okay. Abdullah did the same. He applied for the Islamic mortgage company. He was approved for $500,000. They did the math, and they found out that he has to pay $700,000 within the next 30 years. Someone is passing by, Abiru Sabil, does not know what's going on. He would say, well, what is the difference? Muhammad borrowed $500,000 and he has to pay it back $700,000. Abdullah borrowed $500,000, he has to pay it back $700,000. What is the difference? That's a very good question. Difference actually is huge, and I will explain. And this kind of misunderstanding or confusion is not something new, by the way. It's not. It was raised a while ago during the revelation of the Quran itself. ذلك بأنهم قالوا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala documented this misunderstanding and this confusion. ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. They said, like those confused people, they said that, oh, sale agreement and loan agreement are the same. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala diffused that or refuted that by saying, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. Well, the difference is huge. Muhammad, the one who went with Bank of America actually, is fully responsible for the house. Okay? He took that $500,000 loan. It was not giving cash to him. It was paid on his behalf to whom? To the landlord. Any kind of appreciation or depreciation, any kind of maintenance, any kind of insurance, any kind of tax, any kind of eminent domain, any kind of what else? Natural disaster, foreclosure. He is absolutely by himself. The bank does not care about him whatsoever. Maybe a few exceptions here or there. So he is by himself, and he has to guarantee paying back the principal to whom? To the lender, which is Bank of America. It's absolutely not the case with Abdullah, the one who went with the Islamic mortgage company. That Islamic mortgage company actually got involved with Abdullah in what's called a declining partnership. Declining partnership in a sense that Abdullah has to pay, let's say, minimum of 3 or 5% to show like his financial, capability that he is able to purchase. So he buys 5% of the house, and the Islamic mortgage company buys the 95% of the house. They get involved in actual real partnership. Okay? We have to see the name of the Islamic mortgage company or its LLC written and documented on the deed of trust that this is a joint ownership between the mortgage company and Abdullah in our example. Not only that, Abdullah is responsible proportionally for the maintenance, for the tax, for the insurance. Proportionally means based on his equity percentage. So in the first year, he owns, let's say, 5 or 10%. By the end of the year, he owns 10% of the property. It means that he's responsible 10% of the tax, 10% of the insurance, 10% of the maintenance, major maintenance, not the wear and tear. Why Abdullah is increasing his equity in the house? Here is what happened. Declining partnership means that both parties jointly buy the property with the agreement that Abdullah and his family members will be living in the house. That's the main reason behind that deal. Is that correct? Now, the mortgage company owns how much? 95%. Now, is it something, reasonable to ask for a rent because he is living in the house? So let's say that the fair rental value of the house, in that place is $2,000. The mortgage company would ask him to pay monthly $2,500. $2,000 rent and $500 to increase the equity. So he starts with 5% ownership or equity, 95% the mortgage company. And upon making the first payment, his equity jumps, to 6%, and consequently their ownership goes down to 90, 94, 7%, 93, 8%, 92, all the way until the end of the 30th year, when he makes the very last payment. He kicks them out of the deal because he becomes the exclusive owner of the property. So you can easily tell that this is a real, actual partnership. After 6 or 7 years, Abdullah changed his mind. He said, you know what, Illinois is too cold. I want to go down to Houston, Texas, right? He can put the house in the market and sell it. No big deal. Any kind of appreciation, like increasing the market value. Let's say that he owns, give me a number, 30% of the house, okay? There was a $100,000 appreciation increase. He is entitled, believe it or not, he is entitled to $30,000 to put him in his own pocket. And who will be taking the rest of the money? The mortgage company, because actually they are partners. And likewise, vice versa, if there was a depreciation for whatever reason, the market value went down $100,000. He is to incur, to be responsible, for $30,000, and the mortgage company will be responsible for $70,000. In case of natural disaster, something happened, la samahullah, and the mortgage, the insurance company did not cover that loss, okay? And he was owning 30%. Well, he is to incur, okay, 30% of the loss, and the rest of the loss will be incurred by whom? By the mortgage company. Eminent domain, the government, the federal or the state, alaykum salam, government took the house and did not compensate him, fairly. There was a loss. He is to be responsible for 30% of the loss only, while the mortgage company will take the rest of the loss, and so on and so forth. So again, for that, bypasser, the one who was passing by without having any idea of what's going on, he would say, well, they are the same. ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. All what I have said, all whatever is applied to Abdullah does not apply to Muhammad, the one who went with the traditional mortgage process. The topic actually is long and detailed. Let me just conclude with the reason behind the prohibition of interest. Okay, some of our fellow Americans might ask a very innocent question, right? They say, okay, you go to the bank, you borrow money for 3, 4, 5% APR. You take that money, okay, you involve it in your business, you make 10, 15, 20, 25% profit, right? You pay the principal, and you pay 3, 4%, whatever, back to the bank, and you keep the rest for yourself. So it is a win-win situation. Everybody is happy. If everybody is happy, okay, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibits interest? That's a very good question. The answer is, this scenario actually does not happen every time, everywhere. There are some other severe, excessive scenarios do take place. It does happen, and I'm responsible for what I say, that you take a loan from the bank, and you do not make 100% profit. No, you make 1,000% profit. I mean what I say. You take the money, you do not make 5% or 10. No, you do not even make 100%. You make 1,000% profit. Is it fair enough for you to pay only 3 or 4% APR to the bank and to keep the rest for yourself? Absolutely. I mean, this is very unfair. Okay? You are not doing justice to the bank. Now, the other extreme example, you borrow from the bank, okay, for whatever act of God they call it, like what happened, for example, back in March 2020, when people borrowed money, and just a few weeks after that, the pandemic, the COVID-19 started hitting, and the whole economy in the USA got frozen. Those people actually were unable to make a profit, were unable to break even. They just run out of business, right? By the law of the land, the lending bank does have the right to go after them and to ask for the principal and to ask for the interest as well. Is it fair enough for that individual who did not do any mistake from his side? There was no misconduct, there was no negligence, there was no carelessness, there was something out of his control, act of God, as they get, like natural disaster, like what happened back in 2020. Is it fair enough for the bank to go after him and to punish him by asking for the principal and asking for interest on top of it? The answer is absolutely no, common sense. So the answer actually is that whenever riba, whenever interest is implemented, okay, or empowered in a society, it brings a lot of injustice and a lot of financial exploitation. Financial exploitation. The bank actually is taking big advantage, of the need of other people. Okay, that's the exploitation. That's the dhulm, the financial and economic dhulm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want that dhulm to be implemented on earth. In fact, the Quran itself is the one who has made it clear that the main reason, believe it or not, the main reason behind sending prophets and messengers is to establish justice on earth, justice in everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Hadid, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. We have sent our prophets with the clear signs. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانِ. And we supported them with the books, scriptures, and al-mizan, the scale. Why Allah did all that? قَالَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. So people actually would stand for justice. And when you allow riba to take place and to be implemented or integrated in the finance system, you implement the injustice or the injustice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to be implemented. As I said, this is like a very brief introduction to the topic. Maybe you can go to guidancecollege.org and read more about the masters in Islamic economics and finance that we have. What I presented actually is just like a flavor of one of the classes that we teach, in this program. Jazakumullah khair wa sallallahu ala Muhammad.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Ma'an, mashallah. Very useful explanation of the Islamic finance, and he explained everything very well, and how to differ between the Islamic finance and the regular finance. I want to open and give the chance to our brothers and sisters to ask some or to receive their questions. طيب تفضل. نعم at the end قبل الصلاة. تفضل.
Would you please repeat the question, or maybe you can use the...
You mentioned... Allah khair. Jonathan.
You mentioned that the profit are split and the losses between the client and the mortgage company. Where does it say that in the contract? Where does it say that in the contract of sale? I buy a house for $100,000, I sell it in a year, I keep the profit. If I lose, it's my loss. Other than, foreclosures or anything like that. Where does it say in the contract of sale between us and guidance what you mentioned? Thank you.
Let me just make a disclaimer. I'm here actually to represent Guidance College, which is a degree granting institute. It has nothing to do with Guidance Residential, which is an Islamic mortgage company. My brother here, Khalil.
I understand what you said, but you elaborated on this point and you said there is a split in profit and losses. That's not true.
No. So this is the first thing, that Guidance College has nothing to do with Guidance Residential. The second thing, actually, always there is a difference between the theory and the practice. For example, Islam is a wonderful system, right? Muslims are not. Okay, now, because I'm not a perfect individual, it does not mean that Islam actually is not perfect. Well, I'm the one who is not perfect. I'm the one who do mistakes and commit sins. Likewise, when it comes to Islamic finance practice, there is a huge difference between the theory and the practice. What I was, elaborating on is the theory and not the practice. And I think I made myself clear that genuine, sound Islamic finance is not implemented nowadays. Genuine and sound and authentic 100% Islamic finance is not implemented. We have few attempts here or there, who might be, I would say, 60%, 70%, 80% Sharia compliant, but genuine, sound, 100% Islamic finance is something that rarely you can find. So if there is a diminishing partnership or declining partnership, right, and the mortgage company is not incurring the loss or is not entitled for the profit, then the problem is with the practice itself, okay, a deficiency in the practice, or at least glitches in the practice, not in the theory. So always have in mind that differentiation between the theory and the practice. And let me just make it clear again that unfortunately we do not have genuine, sound, authentic, 100% Islamic finance practice illa ma rahima rabbi. Especially when it comes to those companies who like deal in the secondary market, who sell their contracts to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. They have to abide with the rules and the regulations of the secondary market. Unlike those companies, for example, I'll give you a name, Amin Housing, for example. Amin Housing actually is an Islamic mortgage company in California. Okay, they operate in a very small scale, but they operate off the secondary market. They go with what's called like a syndication business. They go after investors. Okay, they put that money in an LLC, they purchase property, and they sell it back, okay, based on diminishing partnership. Their mode of finance actually is almost 100% Sharia compliant. Do you know why? Because they operate independently. They do not like report to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. So always have in mind that.
You generalize, so that's not true.
What's that?
You generalize the idea that you mentioned that the musharaka is.
In the ideal situation.
But it doesn't work.
In the ideal situation. Unfortunately. No.
Can you consider the bank as a money store? If I put my money in the bank, I'm selling my money to the bank, and the bank sells it to him as a profit. Isn't that like there?
You cannot sell in.
He's selling money. The bank is in the business of selling money, isn't he?
No.
Yes, it is.
The cash money is not for.
Money, and he sells it to you and me to buy art.
It's not a commodity. Money is not a commodity. Money is not a commodity.
It's not.
No, money is not a commodity.
Today, it is a commodity. In this country, it is a commodity.
Well, احنا
Riba, at the time of Muhammad
sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
was you borrowed a liter of wheat, okay, and then you pay him 2 liters. That's riba. I don't think they had banks. Did they have money at that time?
Yeah, yes they did. Yes they did. No. You read, for example, the reason behind the revelation.
They had paper at that time to print money.
You read, for example, the reason behind the revelation of the ayah, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا إن كنتم مؤمنين. Okay, Abdullah ibn Abbas. Do you want to hear from me or? Thank you. Abdullah ibn Abbas reported, كان الرجل يقرض الرجل فإذا جاء الأجل قال أمهلني وأزيدك, which means that people used to lend to one another interest-free loan. You take 1,000 dinar, you're supposed to pay it back how much? 1,000 dinars, no more or no less. فإذا جاء الأجل قال أمهلني وأزيدك. Okay, upon the maturity of the loan, okay, the borrower would approach the lender by saying, I know that the loan is due, I do not have money, give me more time and I will pay you more. Give me more time and I will pay you more. فأنزل الله سبحانه وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا. O you who believe, be cautious to your Lord and quit whatever remaining as an interest. So to answer your question, yes, I mean riba actually was there. Even riba duyun, which is the interest-bearing loan, was 100% implemented there. It was there, and it is the same concept whether you go with gold or silver, okay, or you go with fiat money, right? At the end of the day, it is the same concept.
الأخ عنده
Your reaction, please. I see them on face and everything, some halaqat from the Azhar Sharif and everything, and they were talking about the banks and everything else, and they said, "Oh, the faida bakia is halal and all that stuff," So I don't know what's your reaction to that, and so if you put a CD and I hear more than halakha about that, and
No.
or it's halal to do so.
No.
So what you say?
Well, Al-Azhar itself actually back in the 1960s, issued a fatwa.
I believe this is not الأزهر, this is دار الإفتاء المصرية مش الأزهر.
No, actually, I'm referring to مجمع البحوث الإسلامية في الأزهر back in 1964, if I recall. They issued a very historic and now became a historical fatwa that فوائد البنوك هي الربا المحرم. The interest that banks give is the absolute riba that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. So that's my response. No. Can we move on, Akhi?
Sometimes some fatwa could be political, actually. Yeah, we all see it. It was in the media, and some of fatwa are politically made. Yeah, that's that. Okay, brother, here, the last question. Tafadhal.
So if you were to buy, this is a little bit of a different topic, not relating to houses, but if you were to purchase a option contract within the stock market at a cheap price by generally trying to predict the market so it would not be considered gambling, would that be halal or haram?
Yeah, a well-established position by different fiqh councils that options are not an option. When you purchase an option, it does not reflect, it's not backed up by any commodity or merchandise or even a service, just like a piece of paper, and you make money by selling that option to others. So whenever you decide to have a business in the stock market, you limit yourself to stocks only. Stay away from bonds, stay away from derivatives, stay away from options, from futures. Anything that is not a stock, and a stock that belongs to halal business shouldn't be an option for you, as simple as that. I know it is hard to implement nowadays because sometimes those options are way more profitable than stocks, but again, we're discussing this issue from halal and haram perspective, like, permissibility perspective and not feasibility perspective. That makes sense.
طيب, the last question.
Yeah, دكتور, بس بالنسبة للauto loan, so what do you think of the auto loan? If you get the loan from the financial manufacturer, financial company, versus if you get it from a bank, they're saying that it is okay if you get it directly from the manufacturer versus if you get a loan from the bank. So what's your thought on this?
Is it zero APR or there is a certain APR?
Sales and APR, yeah.
So it's not zero APR?
No, not zero APR.
Well, the issue here, Akhi, is that in the real life, let's go with Toyota, for example, or Honda. Honda car dealership is different and completely independent from Honda finance department. Legally, administratively, financially, they are completely independent. Okay? Although they hold like the same name or they like operate under the same umbrella, which is Honda, the mother organization. But again, legally, administratively, financially, they are completely independent. So if the offer that you have does have a certain APR, it means that you are borrowing money from a third party. Borrowing money from a third party, which is, of course, not a halal option.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Ma'an, and thanks for all of our brothers and sisters who attended today. I want to give 2 minutes to our brother Khalil Khair to talk about guidance.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And when I say Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Ma'an, Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Haitham also. Brothers and sisters, Dr. Ma'an is from Guidance College. I am from Guidance Residential. Guidance Residential is an Islamic financing company. It's the largest Islamic financing in the country, and we are not associated with any bank. We do not operate under any bank. For any question about how do we operate, and I think Sheikh Ma'an has mentioned Abdullah in buying a property versus Muhammad. Well, Muhammad went with a conventional bank. Abdullah came with guidance. So I want to say, alhamdulillah, we operate under the Sharia law, and we can explain our contract back behind after Salah, inshallah, after Salat al-Isha. We have Brother Muhib. from guidance, and I am Khalil Khair also. We will be back if anyone has any question for us. Jazakumullah khairan all for coming, and I hope it was beneficial for